The first thing I learned about the listening post on Kepri-9 was that silence didn't exist there. You could stand completely still inside the observation dome, hold your breath until your lungs screamed, and still hear something: metal contracting under alien gravity, distant electromagnetic storms crackling across the violet sky, or the low hum of the planet itself, like a colossal heart buried beneath layers of stone. That was why the Coalition chose it as a monitoring site. Kepri-9 heard everything.
So, did she?
I was never supposed to meet her. My assignment was simple: repair a damaged deep space receiver array, log any anomalous signals, and leave. No contact. No curiosity. No deviation. The Coalition's handbook was very clear about worlds classified as sentient unconfirmed. But classifications don't prepare you for standing 10 meters away from a being who looks almost human until she turns her head and proves she's something else entirely. I'd been on Kepri-9 for 6 days when I first saw her. She stood at the edge of the basalt plains during the artificial dusk cycle, tall and slender, her skin reflecting the sky's deep indigo glow like polished glass. Her hair, or what passed for it, flowed in slow, liquid motions, as if gravity didn't fully apply to her. She wasn't wearing anything recognizable as clothing, yet she wasn't exposed either. Light itself seemed to wrap around her, shaping modesty where fabric should have been. I should have retreated. I should have logged the sighting and sealed the dome. Instead, I whispered, "I must be losing my mind." Her head turned instantly. The movement was too fast, too precise, like she'd been waiting for the sound. Her eyes locked onto mine through the dome's reinforced glass, and when she spoke, her voice wasn't carried by air. It vibrated through the structure, through my bones, through the inside of my skull. "I hear everything human." My breath caught painfully in my throat.
She didn't shout.
She didn't threaten. She simply stated a fact, the way gravity states itself when you fall. I stumbled backward, slamming into the control console. Alarms chirped, lights flared red, and the dome's auto-defense system spun up. Plasma turrets rotated, targeting her. She raised one hand. Every alarm died. The silence that followed was heavier than any sound. "Please," she said calmly, her voice softer now. "Do not point weapons at what you do not understand." I should have been terrified. Instead, something about the way she said "please" made my fear unravel into something far more dangerous: curiosity. "Who are you?" I asked louder this time. She smiled. "I am called many things," she replied. "But among my people I am Leary, listener of the ninth world." The title sent a chill through me. The Coalition had legends, half-classified reports about listeners, beings who evolved to perceive not just sound, but intention, emotion, even probability itself. They were myths, weren't they? "You heard me whisper," I said. "Yes," Leary replied. "You whispered regret." I frowned. "I didn't." "You did," she interrupted gently. "You regretted being alone." Her words struck deeper than any weapon could have. I hadn't told anyone how isolation gnawed at me during deep space assignments. How the silence between missions grew louder than engine noise. How I talked to myself just to remember the sound of a human voice. Yet she knew. Over the following days, she returned. Always at dusk. Always just outside the dome. And always she listened. She listened to my questions, my doubts, my rambling stories about Earth, about oceans she'd never seen and rain that fell without meaning. In return, she told me about Kepri-9, about how the planet sang through seismic harmonics, about civilizations that once thrived by listening instead of conquering. "You humans are very loud," she observed once, not unkindly. "We have to be," I replied. "Space doesn't notice you otherwise." She tilted her head. "That is where you are wrong. Space hears everything. You simply do not know how to listen. I should have reported her existence, but each time I reached for the transmitter, I hesitated, because the truth was, Leary never lied. She never manipulated. She simply heard, and in hearing, understood. On the 10th day, everything changed. A coalition cruiser entered orbit without warning. I knew the protocol. Unauthorized sentient contact meant containment, or worse, planetary cleansing under the pretense of preventive security. They will destroy this world, Leary said before I even spoke. I heard their intent the moment their engines bent the void.
Panic flooded me.
I didn't tell them about you. I know, she replied. This was inevitable. You are not the first human to arrive here. That stopped me cold. What happened to the others? She looked away toward the darkened horizon. They were afraid. Fear is very loud. The cruiser's transmission crackled through the dome, ordering me to prepare the site for inspection. I had minutes at most. There has to be another way, I said desperately. There is, Leary answered. But it requires trust. She explained quickly, too quickly, about the listening core beneath the planet's surface, a living network that amplified perception across light years. If the Coalition accessed it, they'd weaponize it. If they destroyed it, Kepri, 9 would die. But if you speak for us, she said, meeting my eyes, they might listen. I laughed bitterly. I'm a repair tech. They won't care what I say. They will, she replied, because you are heard.
I didn't understand then.
Not fully. The cruiser landed with the arrogance of an empire that had never been told no. Armed officers flooded the planes, weapons ready, scanning for threats. Leary stepped forward into the open. Time seemed to stutter. I expected gunfire, orders, chaos. Instead, every soldier froze. Their weapons lowered, their breathing synchronized. The air itself seemed to vibrate with shared awareness. I hear you, Leary said, her voice resonating across the plains. All of you. Some of them cried. Others dropped to their knees. And then she looked at me. Now, she whispered. I stepped forward, heart pounding louder than any alarm ever had. This world is alive, I said into the open channel, my voice trembling but clear. And it listens, not just to sound, but to intention. If you come here as conquerors, it will remember you as such. Silence followed. Then the cruiser's captain spoke, voice stripped of authority and left bare with awe. Withdraw, he ordered quietly. The ship left orbit an hour later. When it was over, I collapsed onto the basalt, exhausted beyond words. Leary knelt beside me. You chose to listen, she said softly. That is rare among your kind. What happens now? I asked. She looked toward the stars. Now, the universe hears a new possibility. I was offered extraction the next day. I refused. Months passed, then years. The Coalition reclassified Kepri, 9 as a protected world, citing unexplained diplomatic anomalies. They never fully understood what happened, but I did. I learned to listen, not just to Leary but to the planet, to silence, to myself. And sometimes, when the wind moves just right across the plains and the stars seem close enough to touch, I whisper without thinking. And she always turns, because she still hears everything.